high school sports. People love high school sports.
All right. We were not rejoicing something.
And not this big. There are people dying. I think it's really good. There's going to be more.
It's you.
Okay.
Start the video so you can see your face. And then you're gonna have to enter it. So it's not my music.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. How's your school doing?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm virtual.
Right, that's right.
So and we have 3 high schools. I hear more about Northern actually than the school. I've been at Central for 26 years.
Okay.
But I now have kids as virtual. I have kids from Northern, Central, and Eastern. And
Is
Northern
Tammy Central? Dyke House?
yes.
Okay.
She's at Central.
Yeah.
And Northern is virtual and will be virtual until at least the 18th of November. I just got the email. I'm not sure what's happening at Central
Okay.
or Eastern. I don't know. Cedar Springs High School is virtual right now.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. My kids, my grandkids are virtual. That's what they chose. But they're
Right.
not in high school. They're, elementary.
And Kalen is virtual. He's an 8th grader.
Right.
He is middle school, other than he's taking a high school Spanish class. He's taking Spanish for high school credit.
Oh, that's cool.
He chose virtual because he chose virtual. But the high
Right.
school is now all virtual. There's quite a few places that are struggling. They have too many staff that are out.
Oh, okay.
I'm worried about our staff at City Hall.
Yeah. That's true.
I like
No,
your
I'm
fire,
just-
Sam.
I judged a debate tournament last night from my sewing room. Coached and judged. So
That doesn't surprise me.
it was quite because you have to have, so we had like everybody for the group meeting, and then we have breakout rooms for your team.
Mhm.
And then we have, so you can go talk to your team before the round start. And then we have individual breakout rooms for each round.
Wow.
So you have to find the kids you're judging and then get into the room with them. So and then you have to come out and then go into the next room. And then there's a judge's lounge for in between.
Wow.
So you can ask questions while you fill out your ballots. And so we're doing that on another screen. So I had 3 screens. It was, it was a thing, but we got it done. It worked. It worked surprisingly well, actually.
Well, that's good.
If there's any activity you can do on Zoom, I guess it's talk. So
That's true.
you can have high school kids talk. So yeah, no, it worked. It worked surprisingly well. Let me make sure I was worried I have my turkey scarf on and I wanted to make sure, but it's green, but I think it's okay. I think it's the right shade. That
It's
it
fine.
isn't a problem for like turning into the green screen.
No, it's fine.
Because there's only so many days you can wear a turkey scarf.
Exactly. I'd probably lose it and I'd find it after Thanksgiving.
I have a tub or 2 or 5 for each
Right.
holiday that goes in the attic.
Oh, yeah, that's a good plan.
So then when Halloween came down, the turkeys came out.
Mm-hmm.
I have sweaters with turkeys. The students find it highly entertaining.
Yeah.
It's even more fun on
Good
Zoom.
evening, everybody.
Hello.
Hello,
Can
Miss
you hear me?
Rebecca. How are you?
Good. How is everybody?
Wonderful.
Great. We're going to go ahead and get the meeting started. We're going to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. If everyone would please rise and recite the pledge with me. Thank you. So next, I would like to report the turnout for the election that was held last week. Jerry Gross received a total of 806 votes, and Rose Ellen Powell received 839 votes. Rose was not here to take her oath tonight, but I'll go ahead and issue Jerry Gross his oath. If you could please rise, raise your right hand for me. I, Jerry Gross, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the City Charter and Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of City Council member to the best of my ability.
I do.
Thank you.
Look at me one more time.
Thank you.
Can someone send?
All right.
Can someone send Ms. Nixon the link to the? She got it. Never mind. I was just hunting for it. I've again too many screens. I didn't have
All
the Zoom
right.
link in the same place as where I could connect it to her, but I see she's on there. So Molly, you're all set.
So next, I will open the floor for nominations for mayor. Are there any nominations?
I would like to nominate Jerry Hall to be the mayor.
I would second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations for mayor? Hearing none, I will call a roll call vote for Mayor Hall. We'll go ahead with Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Ms. Powell is absent. Ms. Race,
Yes.
Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
and Mr. Hall.
Okay.
Okay.
Congratulations.
I don't know if okay was an option.
I will issue Mr. Hall his oath.
Well, from last year work,
I, Jerry Hall, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the City Charter and Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor to the best of my abilities.
I will. I borrow your own pen. A little slow.
there. Thank you.
The meeting is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your confidence. It is now my turn to open the floor for nominations for Mayor Pro Tem.
I would like to
nominate-
nominate,
Nominations from the
Go
will
ahead,
of the
Molly.
council.
I would like to nominate Pear Conley as Mayor Pro Tem.
I second.
Okay, Pro Tem Mayor Conley, any other further nominations? It's been moved and seconded to nominate Mrs. Conley. A roll call vote. Ms. Atchison.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Atchison, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Gross. Mrs. Nixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon.
Yes.
Thank
She
you.
said, she
Mrs.
said yes.
Race.
Yes.
Mrs. Race. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor Hall votes yes. Ms. Conley.
Yes.
Okay, I guess the motion carries. Okay, the motion carries. Mrs. Conley, would you like to come in at a later date to be sworn in?
I can, or we can do it. It's up to Miss Johnson. I can do it over Zoom and then come in to sign, whatever you prefer.
It's your preference, Ms. Conley. I'd be happy to issue your oath at another time if you'd like to.
That's fine too.
Alrighty.
Okay, Mrs. Conley will be coming in, so we'll be moving on. Moving on to the public comment. The council welcomes and encourages the public to speak during the public comment of the public hearing portion of the agenda. However, council's policy is to hear the public comment, not to act on the public comment at this time. Concerns brought before the council during the public comment portion of the agenda will be referred to the city manager for action. If after communication with the city manager, no resolution is reached, concerns will be elevated to the mayor and eventually to the council for action. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda and non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the council meeting citizens are allowed to address the council. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like. We have one person in the audience here this evening, Mr. Womack. Is there anyone wishing to address the council at this time? Via Zoom.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I do see a number of members of the public, and if you'll permit, I will call them out each by name. And if they would like to make a public comment at that time, they're free to do so. So Mr. Mike Gates, I see you there. Mr. Mike Gates, you're free to make a public comment at this time.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I would just like to make a public comment on the change in the rules and not taking applications for the Mary stores. I just feel that our inability as a city to act and continue on in the manner that we had started is going to be another city's fortune as we delay and delay our ability to make decisions. There's a lot of business people in the city that have deals in place, financial deals of various sizes and sorts. And a lot of them are sitting in the pot right now, waiting on decisions from the council that we already had rules set in place. Everybody thought you were moving forward, doing a great job. You had set rules, you had set parameters, you had set everything in order, opened it up, and then everything stopped abruptly without, I think part of the uprising is part without any input from any residents, or there was no notices sent, those types of things. So anyway, I think you get the gist of my point. I think you've done a great job moving the city forward as a council. The latest couple councils have done a great job. Mr. Womack, you've done a great job. And I think that we just need to keep pressing forward. And I hope that the council makes good decisions and does that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gates. Let's see here. Donna Clark, Ms. Clark, would you like to make a public comment?
Yes, since I haven't made a public comment in about 8 months, I think it's high time that I did. I'm privileged to be at the public library, at the city public library for our community. All staff are well, and we're enjoying serving our community. We're running about 100 people a day, sometimes like 128 people. So we feel really good that we're able to do that. I know there are some libraries around us closing. I know are not closing, but going to curbside. We had a library meeting today with all of the Lakeland libraries in the 8 counties. And they're, we're just kind of, talking, kind of looking at what's going on around Western Michigan. And it's one of the benefits of being a small library is that we're connected and engaged in our community, and we can kind of, adjust as things get more spicy. If we, watching the schools and listening to City Hall, kind of seeing what we need to do. We're very responsive and open, and we have, people have to ring a doorbell before they come in, and while they're standing waiting for us to open the door and welcome them, they're staring right at a sign that says you have to wear a mask. So just saying, we really don't have any trouble with people wearing masks. Or and most everybody, it's a mask, they're not a shield. So sometimes if people can't stand a mask, then we're offering them a shield. Darla gave me some today, and actually today we had 3 people, and we might go weeks before having anyone that's having a problem with a mask. So anyway, it's good to see all of you. It's so odd after 20 years to miss several months of city council. It's just, we'll keep you informed. I did, Mr. Womack, I did show up to help put in the dog park thing, but I was on time and no one was there, so I left. I thought, well, but I think you guys got on it early and you probably had it pretty much done the day before. That's what I'm thinking. But anyway, okay. I think my 4 minutes are up.
Not that I need to tell you this, Donna, but you're at 2 minutes and 7 seconds. So if you want to talk a few more minutes.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. We appreciate it.
Think about it.
Mr. Mike West, I know you're here for a specific purpose, but if you'd like to make a public comment, now is your time.
Nothing at this time, Mr. Womack.
Thank you, Mr. West. I have Brenna. Would Brenna like to make a public comment at this time? Brenna, would you like to make a public comment? This person's unmuted themselves but hasn't said anything. At least nothing I could hear.
Now?
I can hear you now. There you go.
Fantastic. Okay, this is Bernadette Powell. I have a building at 21 East Maple Street in Cedar Springs there. I have a couple items. I'm not sure if I can talk during the public hearing on this or not, but my large concern being a realtor in town is we have not enough people on the planning commission. So if we want to bring a business into town, there would be nobody to bring it to. The entire reason for this marijuana zoning is to bring more business into town. And now we can't even accept applications. These applications need to be accepted, at least time stamped. So when you're adding more, restrictions to these zonings, they need to be time stamped, especially if you're doing a distance between buildings, because there is a very limited amount of buildings available, especially in the B2 business district. The B2 business district may need to be exempt from this 100-foot. You're cutting down the number of shops. This should have been cut down with regards to the number of licenses that were added. That would have been a better way, other than surprising everybody at a meeting, putting it on an agenda in one meeting. So as it looks like, there is not going to be any new buildings, marijuana, stores, coffee shops that can be built in this town right now, especially with no planning commission. I want to congratulate Jerry. Thank you very much for being mayor again this year. I am so proud of you. I hope everybody can please stay safe. My mom is taking care of my grandma Alice at her house because of the COVID virus. So please be safe and think about our planning commission and popping in a new zoning, a moratorium in one meeting without it being on the agenda. I've been watching these agendas closely. It was put on quickly. I don't understand that. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being at these meetings. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. I have S. Randall. S. Randall, would you like to make a public comment at this time? S. Randall, if you can hear me, would you like to make a public comment at this time? Okay. I have Eddie Von Norton. Eddie Von Norton, would you like to make a public comment at this time?
Yes, if permitted.
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Eddie Von Norton. My pronouns are her and her with an umlaut. I have recently moved in with my stepmother at 258 East Oak Street within the Meadow Creek apartments. They are small, and I have some concerns related to the architectural aesthetic, but I understand that the council might not be able to address those as such. Instead, I would like to speak about an item on the discussion agenda, specifically the Cedar Blitz gravel bike race, slated, I believe, for 2021. I'm afraid I have too many concerns to list regarding this event. Just thinking about it, quite honestly, rubs my aura raw. I am usually a very tough and stoic entity, but I don't know if it's the name or warlike posture implied by the advertisements I've seen, but I feel a great cosmic cloud settling over the future of the city, which I believe is tied inextricably to this event. There are, of course, the ongoing viral concerns. I was down by the Little Creek yesterday, and the soil and running water must be carrying a severe viral load. I was barely able to interpret the resonance frequencies, and it was like they were speaking some dialect of Chinese, and it made me cry. And I couldn't even understand the language of my tears. So I have gotten a COVID test just to be safe. But when the race occurs in May, only Gaia knows what hardships will beset us. Perhaps we will all be speaking Mandarin by then, and I think that thought should be very concerning. I also looked at the bike website, and the race is being described as a, quote, gravel war on wheels, unquote. When I was a child, I was quite brutalized by gravel. Road rash is the technical term. To me, it was road violation. I understand if the council cannot back out of their commitments to fund in part the race, but I do beg you to use your political influence, such as it may be, to coerce the organizers to make a few changes. First, I recommend please reframing the event as a gravel peace assembly on wheels. Next, offerings I think should be made to the Teutonic deity Isoter, whose presence I have felt very strongly in the area. Finally, all of the riders should be given prayer beads or shawls to ward away any negative energies. I have a variety of such items on my Etsy and would be very much happy to partner with the organizers should it be within Mistress Fate's grand design. You can find my work at etsy.com/ILoveMyBigSoul. That is all. Thank you for the time, and I wish many blessings upon the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie Von Norton. Next, I have John Huizinga. Mr. Huizinga, you were listed here, even though I think you're in the building. Mr. Huizinga, would you like to make a comment at this time?
Simply that I'm here to represent the chamber with a couple of items on the agenda if needed. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Huizinga. I have one phone number listed. I have last four digits 2811. Would 2811 like to make a public comment at this time? (2811), if you can hear me, you are currently muted. Would you like to make a public comment at this time? Okay, I believe that's everybody that I have here. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment that has not done so yet at this time? Mr. Hall, I believe I've gone through everybody. If you'd like to proceed forward.
Thank you. Moving on, some housekeeping. I have a roll call vote for attendance. Mrs. Atchison, she was here.
Here.
Mrs. Conley, thank you.
Here.
Mrs. Conley,
Here.
Mr. Gross. Here. Mrs. Nixon,
Here.
she was here a bit ago. Thank you. Mrs. Race,
Here from Cedar Springs, Michigan.
she's here, I see her. Here. Mr. Hall is here. I would entertain a motion to excuse Mrs. Powell this evening.
I would like to make a motion to excuse Rose Powell.
I would second that.
All right, it's been moved and second to excuse Ms. Powell this evening. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed sign no. Motion carries.
If I could have just a second, Mayor.
Moving
Just
on to
Just a reminder that we do
Gross.
have a delay in here. We're hearing each other live. And sometimes after you speak, you may have to pause to give them a chance to answer. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I just add a comment that we wish Mrs. Powell's mother well and that we hope everyone is doing okay?
Yes, indeed. It's trying times now, so we wish the best for everyone. Moving on to item 4, Mr. Womack.
Thank you,
Are you
Mr.
there?
Hall. Since both of these public hearings relate to the same thing, without objection from the city council, I would ask each member of the public for comment on both of the public hearings at the same time. If that's not a problem for anybody, I think that'll save us some time. So this is the public hearings portion of the agenda regarding the recreational marijuana regulatory ordinance and recreational marijuana zoning ordinance amendments. I don't believe that these are legally required, but we would like to hear comments from members of the public regarding these. So I'll start again with the members that I see here, and then Mr. Heisinger, you're still here, so I guess you can make your comment when I get to you. Mr. Gates, Mr. Mike Gates, would you like to make additional public comments about either the regulatory or zoning ordinance being proposed?
No, sir, I think I've said my piece, and I hope and pray that the city council makes good decisions, that's all. And congratulations to Jerry, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Gates.
Thank you.
S. Randall, would you like to make a public comment at this time regarding either of those proposed ordinances? I can't hear anything. Mr. Randall, it sounds like you're going to need to work on your microphone situation, unfortunately. Mr. Randall, you could call in to the phone number that's listed on the city's Zoom notification. If you go to the city's website and go to the news item, you'll see the the Zoom information, and you can telephone in if you'd like, okay? Oh, well, yeah, I don't know how to help you then. Maybe get off the Zoom and just call in by telephone? Okay. So if Mr. Randall shows back up, we will give him the opportunity to speak. Mr. John Heisinger, Mr. Heisinger, would you like to make any public comments about the regulatory or zoning ordinances being proposed at this time?
No comments.
Thank you. Donna Clark, Ms. Donna Clark, would you like to make additional public comments regarding the regulatory or zoning ordinance at this time?
Not at this time. No.
Thank you. Mike West, would Mike West like to make additional public comments regarding the regulatory or zoning ordinance at this time?
No comments, Mr. Womack. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. West. Let's see here. Bryn A. Bryn A, would you like to make additional public comments about the regulatory or zoning ordinance at this time?
Yes, I have a couple of comments with regards to the ordinance. First, I noticed that you couldn't hear me when I had my earphones plugged in, so that could be that other guy's issue. I do strongly feel we need to get the moratorium in regards to applications removed. I do understand why we had the unlimited amount of licenses. I have thought it was to bring businesses downtown for our walkability of town and to build up and beautify our downtown buildings. With the 100-foot setback in the B2 business district, you will be cutting out a lot of buildings that do need to be beautified because there is already one licensed place that has been approved. You're cutting out a couple of buildings that really do need to be improved in Cedar Springs, and that would knock them right out of the ballpark at 100 foot. 100 foot goes across the street from any building. It doesn't seem like it really matters if there's any zoning changes anyway, because we don't have a planning commission. I think that's about the most, maybe we can cut out the B2 business district. I just know that there's so many buildings owned by people with prosperous businesses that do not want marijuana in town. And it does knock out a lot of the possibility of them coming into town. They are getting flooded out at the highway area. I'm just hoping that you guys can think about this, and I'm hoping there not 2 hearings before a zoning is changed. And generally the city council gets their recommendations from the planning commission before they do change the zoning. So thank you for your time. I don't publicly speak very often, and I hope I got my point across. Thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. Josh Franstead. Josh Franstead, would you like to make a public comment regarding the regulatory or zoning ordinance at this time?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. The phone number ending in 2811, would 2811 like to make a public comment regarding the regulatory or zoning ordinance at this time? They have not unmuted themselves. So S. Randall, I'm back to you. Can we hear you now? I can't hear anything. Mr. Hall, I don't know how to resolve the issue. It sounds like Mr. Randall would like to make a comment, but I can't hear him.
Can Mr. Randall type his comment into the chat?
I don't know. Ms. Johnson, do we have chat enabled?
I can actually call Mr. Randall and put him on speakerphone on my microphone. I mean, I know it sounds a little wonky, but it will work.
Okay.
I judged the debate tournament with some similar things last night, and it does indeed work.
So I apologize. Was that Mr. Josh Franstead making that offer?
Yes, yes. I'm working on calling him right now. It'll only take 1 second.
Hi.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So would this be Mr. Randall speaking then?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on. I work in IT, and you would think that I'd be able to figure this stuff out. I've hit *6. I think I've hit every combination that you could come up with, and for whatever reason, I can't do this. So I apologize. Thank you, Josh, for bringing me in. Mr. Womack, I just want to say thank you, and thank you to everybody that's been on this call. This is my first meeting, so I do appreciate that. We are, there's a handful of partners and myself that are looking to bring in cultivation into the Cedar Springs area. We see a major potential up in Cedar Springs, and I'd love to sit down and talk to anybody that has concerns around that. Should this be lifted and we have an opportunity to put our application in there? I'm from Hudsonville. I've got family up in Rockford, up in Cedar Springs, so we're very familiar with the area. We're looking at outlying areas that we can move our business to. But honestly, we'd like to stay up in the Cedar Springs area if at all possible. So we're hoping that some of this gets resolved quickly and we can bring our business up there. I think it'd be great for the community and really anybody in the surrounding areas. So thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Randall. I believe that's everybody who's a member of the public. So I guess I would ask for the public hearings to be closed at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public portion, the public hearings of this meeting. Any further discussion before I have a roll call vote? Mrs. Atchison,
What are we voting on? To close the meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Atchison,
Yes.
I can see. Yes, to close
She
the
said yes.
public.
Yes.
Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Yes.
you said yes also?
Yes.
Mr. Groves, Mr. Groves. Mrs. Nixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Race,
Yes.
Mr. Hall votes yes, the motion carries. Close the public hearing portion. Moving on. Adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion that we
Will
adopt
the
the agenda.
council.
Support.
We're having tons of technical
Second.
tonight. Okay. Been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda this evening. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. We're having a delay. All those opposed, sign no. Hearing none. Motion carries to adopt the agenda. Moving on to number 6, the consent agenda. They're not hearing me.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent
All right.
agenda as
Small
presented.
technical glitch here, stand by. There, we're back on the air with a new computer.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion.
All right, we have approved adoption of the agenda. Moving on to the adoption of the consent agenda as written.
Mr. Mayor,
What's the
I
will of
make a
council?
motion. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to
We don't hear
adopt
Mrs.
the consent
Cunningham.
agenda.
Come me along.
Mr. Mayor, she has made the motion.
Hello.
Mayor Pro Tem has made the motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay, I don't hear anything. Who,
Support.
oh,
Support.
yeah, her take over until things squared away. Oh, we're off. Okay. Right, here we go. I think we're back up again. Mrs. Conley made the motion and I believe that we were seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Anybody hear me? I have a roll call vote. Mrs. Atchison,
Yes.
Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
She votes yes. Mr. Gross,
I voted yes.
Mr. Gross. Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
this is gonna be a wild night. Thank you. Mrs. Race,
Yes.
yes. Mrs. Race. I see her looking.
She said
Thank
yes.
you. Mr. Hall votes yes, motion carries. Oof,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Is
Moving on
everybody,
to Item
Can I ask a question?
7. Action
Mayor Hall.
items, Mr. Womack.
Mayor Hall, Miss Atchison has a question.
This is gonna be a long night.
Hello?
Mr. Hall,
Okay.
if you can hear me, Miss Atchison has a question. Miss Atchison, please go ahead.
Mr. Womack. Item
is
7.
everybody in the
Sure.
council room have earbuds in or something like that?
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Atchison.
Does everybody have earbuds in the council room?
Go ahead.
I think there's only 2 of them in the council room.
Mr. Hall, if you can hear me.
I think it's just Jerry and Jerry.
Please go ahead.
We're not hearing anything. Maybe I'm probably-
Is everybody in the council room have earbuds?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me try to sort things out in the council room.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I have no audio.
Just one moment, everybody. I
Yeah.
think we're having some internet difficulties.
Yeah, we are. We're having something going
I was
on.
gonna say, I think the rest of us can all hear each other. Am I
Yeah,
right?
we're all, we're, the ones that are dialing in are fine.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear fine.
yeah.
Ooh. Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mrs. Conley.
Yes.
Meeting, somehow I have no audio.
Do you need me? Are you asking me to take over the meeting? I can't hear him. I mean, I can take over the meeting, but is that what he's asking me to do?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Mr. Hall? Mayor Hall? Can you hear me, Mr. Gross?
I can just vaguely hear her. Maybe it's just
Okay.
Can everybody
So-
else hear me okay?
Yes.
Room, it sounds like we've got some lag time between the mayor and Mr. Gross's computers.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem Conley, if you're comfortable moving forward with the meeting, would you mind holding it?
I would be happy to do that. Do I need to
Hello.
do you need me to do anything to have the mayor hand it over, or shall I just continue on with
Yeah.
the consent agenda?
The mayor indicated to me he was comfortable with you moving forward with the
Okay.
meeting.
We
He
have
can
a
hear
we have a
you.
motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The consent agenda carries. Moving on, let me scroll down here to sorry, I was in a different place on the agenda. Action items. Motion to approve ordinance. I don't have the number. An ordinance amendment to the recreational marijuana regulatory ordinance, second reading. There should be a map showing the 100-foot separation distance around the Vitalis building.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, would you like me to speak on this?
I would love for you to speak on this, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. So as I've indicated before, and of course, this is now the second time that we're discussing this. This was an issue that was brought to me by several business members, especially in the downtown area. And they had concerns about the number of marijuana businesses that were coming into the downtown. I think everybody was comfortable with a couple, but then there were, rumors of 5 and then 10 and then 30 and 40. So of course, they're all rumors at this point. We have no idea how many marijuana businesses are actually out there, actually interested in being here. I believe that we're all just a little skittish. This is a new thing. There's a lot of money involved. Ms. Bryn Powell's comments are taken dearly. She's entirely correct about a lot of those things. There's a lot of money to be invested. There's a lot of old buildings to be fixed up. But I think it's also a very relevant and appropriate concern of both the city council and the citizens of Cedar Springs that we not have literally every building in the city becoming a marijuana business. So I understand that there are some building owners and businesses and real estate agents who are all set and ready to sell their business and be part of a real estate transaction where they'll make money. I get all that. What we're talking about right now is whether the council wants to change the ordinance to include a 100-foot separation distance between marijuana businesses. Now, I've been dealing with this marijuana thing for years now, and I will tell you that in comparison to other cities, 100-foot separation is considered extremely mild. There are lots of places that have 500 and 1,000-foot separation distances. There are cities that have very severe limits on the number of licenses that they have. Only 2 or 3 or 5 licenses total. So this is not a fundamental change, I think, of what the ordinance started out as. Now, I get that part of what we're trying to do here is we're trying to spur some economic development. And I agree that some of the buildings that we have in the downtown are going to be improved upon by the marijuana businesses. And I still think that the capitalist side of our economy will sort things out eventually. I hate using the phrase too many because that doesn't signify any number in particular, but I believe that there will be too many marijuana businesses in the city at some point. But I think capitalism will sort that out in the next 2 to 3 years. I think whatever opens up, we'll see some consolidation and we'll see some places perhaps go out of business. But I don't get a vote on this council. It's a question and concern for the council. I've made my beliefs known. I think we can kind of slow down the marijuana industry without changing the ordinance. I think the council might want to consider changing the policy of how we accept applications. Again, as Ms. Powell indicated, currently we do not have a quorum on our planning commission. And without a quorum on the planning commission, we can't move forward on marijuana businesses no matter what. And I will recall that when we started out, we had 3 marijuana businesses all on the agenda at the same time, along with a 110 home neighborhood. And the planning commission was simply overwhelmed. So much work. It's very difficult work. For anybody who's never watched a planning commission meeting or been a member of the planning commission, they're the unsung heroes of the city in all cities. So I'd be comfortable with whatever council wants to do. I think any number of actions would be appropriate at this point. But considering the status of the planning commission and that anything that we do moving forward will have to be coterminous with the planning commission, it might be appropriate to table this. It may be appropriate to continue the moratorium until we have the planning commission sorted out. But council needs to make the decision about what they want to do moving forward. Thank you.
So what is the will of the council? I would like to hear from each council member what your feeling is on this. And I know that we are currently working on trying to get more people on the planning commission. I know that the planning commission chair actually spoke to someone this past week that put in an application to the city manager. I think actually put in an application to the city manager. So hopefully we will be getting that staffed, but it's hard. These people are volunteers. So that's another piece of this is we're putting this together of, do we want to change the size of the planning commission? And do we want to add some compensation? We talked about that a little bit, but that's not this particular item, but tuck that in the back of your head as we're thinking about this. So what are your feelings about this motion to approve an ordinance regarding 100-foot distance? And I'm going to go through and just ask each of you to tell me what you think. Mr. Gross. Mr. Gross, could you unmute yourself, please? I'm not sure if I can unmute you.
I was looking at the wrong mic. I saw a mic that was unmuted, but it was probably yours. I personally believe that we need to table this. And we need to have the consideration of the planning commission, of which we need to work diligently to get enough people to fill those positions. I do believe that we can't make people wait forever for decisions, but I think they have to be an educated decision, and we have to follow a process by having the planning commission consider any change that we're looking at prior to and hearing whatever they need as far as a public hearing for them. That's my belief.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Ms. Race.
Hello. I agree with Mr. Gross. I think we need to table it until we get the proper, until we get this planning commission thing figured out. I was on the planning commission. It's a lot of work. You're volunteering a lot of time, and it needs to be clear. We all are here to listen to our residents. We know they wanted it, but we don't want to flood our town with it either. And you have to realize that people are walking down the street. I live in the town too. I live in Cedar. I shop in Cedar. I voted to have these stores, but we can't just be that. We need to have, we're building a beautiful downtown, and we need to have more than that. So I just think we need a little bit more time to think about this, get our ducks in a row, as they say, and move on from there.
Okay. Ms. Atchison.
I agree with them. And, but I do think it's hard to not take people licenses that, applications for licenses. Maybe we need to have like the people come in and have a license waiting, maybe dated. So, they can kind of be in order when we do have the planning commission together. So they're kind of waiting, I guess. That's the only thing about putting this off is we're going to have these businesses wondering what's going on. But, it's hard to do that without the planning commission. And I don't really know what the total answer is. Any of you people that have called in today, if you're a resident and would like to be on the planning commission, get a hold of Mike and let him know, and then we'll go from there. Otherwise, I think we should table it.
Ms. Nixon.
So it sounds like the general consensus is to table this, which I'm not necessarily opposed to. I think that really the fear is we're going to get a clump of marijuana businesses. And then, as Mr. Womack said, in 3 to 5 years, some of those businesses will leave because that's how capitalism works. Some will do well and some won't. What we don't want to end up with is a block of empty buildings where there was once locally owned successful businesses. I think that, for instance, the Cedar Chest Shop or Jose's, they're staples in our community. And so to have them be bought out by a marijuana business that may or may not be there in 5 years, I don't know that that really accomplishes our goal. Perhaps 100 foot is not what we want to go with. Perhaps we limit one per city block. And as far as the potential business owners that have been on here tonight voicing their frustrations, I imagine this is incredibly frustrating. And for the frustration, I apologize. But we don't want you to invest your hard-earned money and time into a business if we aren't sure you can have it there. So even though I appreciate how frustrating it is, please know that we are attempting to be protective of you as well. Thank you.
Mr. Hall, do you have anything to add? Mr. Hall, you're muted.
Let's table it. They can hear you. Hello,
You're muted, Mr. Hall?
yeah, I'm here. I can't.
Ms.
talk.
Conley, he's indicated he'd like to table it as well.
Okay. So I guess then I will take a motion to that effect.
I make that motion.
Okay. Can you give a till next month? Till the following month? Till
I would like
So-
to table it till next. Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, if I could. So, Ms. Conley, one of the items I was going to ask the council to discuss as part of the ordinance on the planning commission was a possibility of setting a special meeting a week or two from now so that we can get the planning commission sorted out. Obviously, I don't know where the city council is going to go or whether they'll do that or not, but that is an option if council wanted to set it with the next meeting for the planning commission ordinance as well.
so I guess Ms. Atchison, with that information, do you have when you would like to table this too?
Are we saying to
You can table it till next month. You could table it until a special meeting. In between now and next month?
if we have the planning commission worked out, they would that's what he was saying, there would be a meeting, right?
I think what I'd recommend, Ms. Atchison.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Is to table it to whatever meeting we also consider the planning commission ordinance.
Sounds good.
I don't know if Ms. Johnson's okay with that, because we don't have a date set for it yet. But if we're going to set a date, we'll set it for the special hearing date. If not, we'll reconsider it at the December 10th meeting.
Yes, that
If
sounds
I
great.
may,
Is that acceptable, Ms. Johnson?
you can just make a motion to table. You do not
Okay.
have to put a specific date on there. So
Okay,
if there's a special meeting,
Okay.
you can bring it up at that time.
got it. So the motion is to table. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so Ms. Race is seconding that. And I will, since there's no money, I will do just a universal, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say no.
Tabling it, Jerry.
Okay, Mr. Hall's a yay. Ms. Nixon, what are you?
I am in support.
Okay. So the motion carries and the Mayor Pro Tem is a yes. So the motion carries to table this until we can get our planning commission sorted out and some other issues as well. So moving on then to B, item B under action item, motion to approve the installation of Chamber of Commerce banners on city light poles along main streets. along Main Street, and there's some mock-ups.
I'll make that motion.
Ooh, I can hear.
Do I have a second?
I would
Support,
second that.
whatever.
Mr. Hall or Ms. Nixon, Ms. Johnson, whoever you got first. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Gross.
These are going to be on our black post, right? For the light poles?
They'd be put on whatever poles the previous banners were put on, which I believe were the black poles.
I think so, yes.
Okay, then my question is, in one of the examples that was given, they were going to have the clamps that were of a type that were silver. Are they going to do any damage to the post by clamping down onto it? And are they going to detract from the appearance of the post itself by being silver in color? And that's just, I'm looking for opinions. I'm not against the flags at all. The flag or the light posts are very ornate and really pleasant to look at. I would hate to take away from that.
Well, I could discuss the matter with the chamber and see if there's an option for maybe a black mounting set instead of the silver that's shown here. I'm not sure that's the exact model and color that they were thinking about getting, but I honestly don't know. And of course, the DPW is not going to install something on our light poles that damages our light poles either. So that would be a very bad case of bad luck if that were the case. But those light poles are pretty solid. You pretty much have to hit them with a car to knock them over.
I was also,
Don't say that, it's 2020.
I
Which
was
has
also,
happened already once this year. I apologize. I'll throw some salt over my shoulder.
if I may,
Yes, Ms. Nixon.
I was also very concerned about what looked like pipe clamps being put up on those black light posts. I just don't want to have to repair them later. And so I'm not opposed to having the chamber put up banners as we've done previously. I just want to make sure that whatever they use to put them up doesn't damage our infrastructure and create a bill later.
Yep. So right now, all I'm asking is for the council to give us the authority to use the city's light poles. That doesn't mean that we're going to do it if they're going to damage the light poles. So, you know, the DPW will work with the chamber to make sure that whatever they're planning on purchasing does not interfere or damage our infrastructure. For the same reason that we don't allow people to screw or nail anything into the amphitheater building. You can use the amphitheater building, you just can't modify it or damage it. So, Mr. LaRose, are you here? Would you like to make any kind of comment on this issue?
Mike, the only thing I can say is that we've had banners on them in the past and there's no damage. They could look into some kind of different clamping method that may be black to match the post. We've tried painting hose clamps in the past, or the clamps that you use to attach them, and it doesn't stick because they're stainless steel. So that's about all I can add.
Okay, any other discussion? Since this involves spending some money, I will do, well, it's the chamber's money, right?
Correct. This would not be city money.
Okay. I was looking at the labor cost, so, but the chamber would be reimbursing us for this cost?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll do a overall all in favor. Do we need to recap the motion, or do you feel like you understand what we're voting on? So we are voting on if to approve the installation of banners on city light poles. There's been a motion and a second. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to item C, motion to approve and authorize the city manager to execute an access easement agreement over the city parking lot located at 37 East Cherry Street with Vizio Carla LLC. Mr. Manager, could you speak to this?
I'd be happy to. I'm just trying to bring it up real quick so I can look at it. So this would be located at page 55 of your agenda packet. Unfortunately, it's sideways. So if you're looking at this page, you'll see a red splotch and then a yellow splotch. The red splotch is the easement that we're talking about. It would be an easement over the drive path that goes through the city's parking lot. It would not interfere with any of the parking spaces. And this was at the Planning Commission level in exchange for the closing up of the curb cut that is in the front of the building. So one of the long-term concerns that we've had is the vehicle traffic that has transited over the public sidewalk there and parked in the alleyway. The new business would like to turn that alleyway into a nice seating area with garden and vegetation, which I think would be great for the community. So in exchange, they've asked for an easement so that they have ready access to the rear of their building. Now, I don't see any issues with this. And you'll see that the splotch in yellow is the area located behind the Redbird Bistro. And I understand that they are also working on giving an easement to the new business so that there can be additional parking spots placed back there as well. So we'll probably see 5 to 10 new parking spots located there as part of this agreement. Now, the only thing I would point out is that the agreement that you have in your packet is about 98% complete. There are a few periods and commas I want to double check before I sign it, which is why the motion is to sign, execute an access easement, not the access easement agreement. But it's very minor stuff that the city and attorney and I are working on.
What is the will of the council?
I would like to make a motion to approve the city manager to approve the easement as presented.
Support.
That's Molly or Lisa for Ms. Johnson. Any discussion? I will do an overall vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to item D. Motion to approve White Pine Trails Neighborhood Planned Unit Development District and a site condominium development for parcel 410225201001, commonly known as 1,400,505 Cedar Springs Avenue and 410225226001, commonly known as 14805 Cedar Springs Avenue Northeast, and authorize the Planning Commission to review and give final site plan approval. Mr. Manager, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you. So this is something that the Planning Commission has worked quite a bit on. They really hashed it out with the developer. This is something that I had significant concerns with. And I worked with both the Planning Commission, the city planner, and the developer. I think we've come to a good accord. One of our biggest concerns was that the developer was asking for the PUD, which would essentially give them the same setback requirements as what's permitted in the R2 district, not the R1 district, which is what these sites are zoned as. Now, the neighborhood that had been accomplished over the last year and a half or so, which is known as the Prairie Run North neighborhood, that was an R2 zoned neighborhood, and nobody seems to have any problems with it. So this new development is going to set aside a number of acres. Mr. West, I'll get to you in a minute. Number of acres that will remain as green space. And that is part of why they were asking for the PUD. The green space reduces the amount of buildable land for the homes themselves. Now, the number one thing that I was concerned about was the side setbacks, because under the R2 district, the side setback is a minimum of 6 feet, not the 10 feet as required under R1. However, after looking at the models that the developer was planning on putting in, it looks like there was only one combination that would be the actual 12-foot distance. And they have promised not to put those two models next door to each other, so that we would have, I believe, a 15-foot distance minimum between each of the homes. So I think I and the Planning Commission were satisfied with that. Under our ordinance, the City Council does have to approve of the planned unit development section. Technically, I don't think you need to approve the site condominium development, but I figured why not? I'll bring it to you guys for your approval. And I do have Mike West, he represents the developer, if you'd like to hear or see additional things regarding this project. And you can ask Mr. West any questions you'd like.
Mr. West, do you have anything to add?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Womack. Thank you, City Council. I have a dog and pony presentation for you if you want to, but given the length of your meeting and some of the other issues, I'm willing to do whatever you like. I know the Planning Commission discussed this quite at length in September and October when you had a full Planning Commission. They recommended 5 conditions of approval. We're okay with all those, and one of them was the setback issues that Mr. Womack discussed. But I can do whatever you guys would like. I can give you a short presentation. I can wait for specific questions and then call up documents, whatever your preference is.
Does anyone on council have any specific questions before a motion?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Nixon?
So I just want to make sure that we're absolutely clear, because I know that under the terms of the proposed HOA that would be for this housing development, they state that there would be no RVs or boats of any kind permitted in the front of their home. But I know that people do love their boats and campers. So did we settle on a minimum setback, at least on one side of each property, that would allow a vehicle that was 7 foot wide to be drawn behind the home?
The Planning Commission's recommendation was for side setbacks totaling 15 feet. So 6 feet on one side minimum, 9 feet on the other side minimum. And they were satisfied with that. We originally wanted to go down to 6 on each side, not with the desire to build every house with 6 foot side yard setbacks, but those narrower lots. In order to preserve the open space, we need to go narrower lots and lesser setbacks to get the same number of homes on the property. So you're condensing the size of the lot in return for preservation of open space. So those setbacks should allow for temporary storage or people to get around the back. And as Mr. Womack says, many of our floor plans will have greater than those setbacks. We just like to have the flexibility to offer different floor plans, as well as a third car, a garage addition, if that's what the homeowners desire.
Very good. I'm satisfied with that answer. Thank you.
Okay, would anyone else have any specific questions they would like to ask of Mr. West before we have a motion? Hearing none, the council will entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the White Pine Trails Neighborhood Plan Unit Development as presented.
Do I have a second?
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or questions? All right, I'm going to do a roll call on this one. Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Ms. Race,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
and Ms. Nixon.
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem votes yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to discussion items. Section 8, item A, discussion of an ordinance amendment to amend the total number of planning commission members. Section 2-186 membership, first reading. Mr. Womack, can you speak to this?
Yes, thank you. So we've discussed this before, about a year and a half ago or so. We were having some difficulties coming up with planning commission members. And we did sadly lose several of our members recently. Our planning commission by law is currently 9 members. And we only have 4 active members on our roster, which is insufficient to legally hold a meeting. So at the very least, I felt it appropriate to present this to council for possible changes to the planning commission ordinance. Several of which you can see there. The parts in yellow are additions. The part in red is deletion. So I will simply walk through those real quick. The proposal would change the membership of the planning commission to 7 members from 9. That would reduce our quorum to 4 from 5, which means that we currently, if we have all our members attend, do have a quorum. I would remove the words elected and serving from the city council line because technically city council members can be appointed. I added the line that says, members of the planning commission shall serve with compensation as set forth in a resolution of city council. Currently, they are forbidden to be paid. I think it would be appropriate to provide them with a small stipend. I know a lot of the planning commission members spend their own time and money in service. It is not an easy job. Let's see here. Under state law, 1 member may be a member of the city council. So I added that language in. Also under the Zoning Enabling Act, it is possible to have a member on your planning commission who does not reside in the community. I did add some very specific language here that the non-qualified elector who lives outside of the city boundaries must have significant interest in the city. Of course, that is only a proposed change. I know there's a lot of strong feeling on council about this. And I would indicate that even if we do change this in our ordinance, the council does still have to appoint members to the board. So the council could change the ordinance to allow it and then later on simply decide not to appoint people who are living outside the community. And then I did add some additional language at the bottom, simply stating our belief of what a quorum consists of and what the minimum majority vote must be, only because it was not in any of our current law, even though it was understood. I think it's appropriate to write it out. So I present this as a possible ordinance for council, and I'd be happy for any feedback prior to bringing it back in the future.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Womack or want to have anything clarified before they make a motion? Ms. Atchison?
My question is, what would that stipend be? Do we have a certain amount?
So the only comment I'd have about the stipend amount, besides the fact that we're obviously not setting it right now, this would be put into a future resolution of council to approve at a later date, is that there's a certain amount, Ms. Falcon can maybe tell us what that number is. There's a certain amount that we would have to give a W-2 tax form for. I think it's $600. Maybe it's $400. I don't know. But what I would probably recommend is that we take the 12 regular meetings that the members are supposed to attend. We divide that into the W-2 amount and then set forth whatever that is. And then cap it at that amount as well. So no additional pay for additional meetings. Ms. Falcon, do you have input on that?
Yeah, the amount is $600. Since they would be providing a service for us, anybody that we pay $600 or more to in a year, I would issue them a 1099 at the end of the year, and they would have to claim that on their taxes.
So it could be 595.
Could be.
I have another question.
Okay, yes, Miss Atchison?
Is there any way that until we get planning commission members, that somebody else that has served on the planning commission from this council could fill in?
I don't think that's a thing. We don't really have substitute planning commission. We have to appoint someone.
Okay, just wondered because I didn't know if that would help, you know, with whatever that's coming in front of them. If one of us that had served before could serve.
Well, Jerry currently serves, but we're only
I know
allowed
he
to have
does.
one
Right.
council. The idea is that they don't want, in the state law, they don't want too much power being concentrated between the city council and the.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, if I may, that's the checks and balances between the city council and the planning commission, is to guide the growth of the community. If we load it with council people, then you could in essence change the dynamics of the whole city.
Yeah, and I get that, and I understand
we had
that.
a really good planning commission here. Thank you. Yeah. You know, we had a really good council, and we have a really good planning commission, and we lost several people. You know, with this, the marijuana ordinance really struck home to us. So we will rebuild. We just need to find some good people that don't have an agenda to put back on the council or the planning commission. I kind of like the idea of the 9 members because all voices get heard, and that's a good input when you're discussing things. So if we have to reduce, then I guess 7 is another step. So that's my 2 cents worth.
So if we
Thank you.
reduce to 7, and then we want to ever go back up to 9, then we have to go through the whole thing again.
Yes, so this is an ordinance change. So this should be considered fairly permanent if the changes are made.
Okay.
Now, 9, in my estimation, is kind of a large board. It's, and I was on the library board, I was on the school board, in addition to having done city council, and they're almost all 7. I mean, 9 is a large board, and it's wonderful if you can fill it, but if you can't, I don't know that it's restrictive to take it down to 7. I mean, that's a very standard number of voices. And they currently have 4. And I know that the planning commission chair just spoke to a possible 5th.
Who is the chair now? I'm sorry.
Clint Conley.
Okay.
And I would also mention that I believe we had some Rotarians who were out there scouring the lands for us for some possible new members. I believe Ms. Johnson sent out some, pretty please letters today. So I believe we should have a couple of new applicants soon. But I guess the question is there anything in here that the council is just absolutely against, that they don't want to be even considering? And then a second follow-up question is, how important is this to move forward on? Because we don't have just marijuana businesses. We've got special land uses, we've got fence ordinances,
Right.
we've got all sorts of things that board works on, and it's important stuff. So I prefer to move forward as quickly as possible on this, even if council wants to consider the marijuana ordinances a few more times. We might want to move this one forward because it's the initial step. So I would not be opposed to the council perhaps setting a special meeting a week or 2 weeks from today, finalize this, maybe have some additional members appointed so that the planning commission can move forward with their, might be a little too soon, their December 1st meeting, but their January meeting at the very least.
So I'm going to go through this as a discussion item, and I'm going to ask each member what your feeling is about moving down to 7, and then what your feeling is about allowing people who are not in the city to serve, who do not live in the city, who are not residents, to serve on the planning commission, because those are the two basic changes that are on this structure. And then, oh, I guess there's 3. And then how you feel about providing compensation to the planning commission. So Ms. Nixon.
So firstly, I think that it's important that we move forward with this as quickly as possible. Would 9 voices be great? Yes, it would. But right now, we're paralyzed in the fact that the city can't do its regular business because we don't have a quorum on the planning commission. So I think that at this time it's appropriate to move to 7. As of the question of how allowing someone who lives outside the city limits to be on it, I think that we should consider it. Obviously, it's our preference to have city residents on the city board, but that could be up to the discretion of whatever council is in place at the time to decide if they want to appoint this person or if their interest is significant enough to allow them a place on the planning commission. And I think that it's wise to limit that to only 1 board member. We definitely want majority city voices on our city board. As far as compensation, I am not opposed. However, I feel like I can't say that I support it because my husband is on the planning commission and I would financially benefit if it was chosen to provide them some kind of stipend. Thank you.
Ms. Atchison.
I think that we probably should go down to 7. It's harder to get people on the board now. I liked it, the fact that we had, more members. That was good, but I think now is probably the time to change, and we do need to move forward on getting this board together because they need to make a lot of decisions. Also, as far as compensation, I think that it probably is time to give some sort of compensation because we're moving forward and they have so many more things on their plate. So I think that they should be compensated a little bit. Also, I don't know, what else was I supposed to comment on?
And whether or not you feel that it's appropriate to have a person who does not live in the city limits on the board.
Yeah, I think that it's something that should be considered. We've had members before that were moving just out of the city, and they were awesome members on the board. And so if that could have been a fix for them to stay on the board and we really needed them, that would have been awesome. But once again, we can also do that through the council, decide then when it becomes an issue. So I think that's a good idea.
Okay, Ms. Race?
I'm here. I think we need to move right away on this. I agree with the other city council members. 7 is a number that we need, as you stated, 9 is a large number, 7 is fine. We really need to get these seats filled. Living out of the city, it's a yes and no for me. I really don't. I think it's important for them to live here because that they're going to look at, the reason why I started on the planning commission was because I lived here and I wanted to do good for the city that I lived in, and not to say that we won't get that from people, but I feel that having someone in the city is important, and compensation is absolutely fine with me.
Okay, Mr. Gross?
I don't have a problem with going down to 7 members. As far as somebody that resides outside of the city, I'd like to see them relatively close in proximity to the city. Someone who has ties to the city, because I think then they have an investment to the city to do the best they can. I think it's probably a shame that there hasn't been a stipend offered to them in the past. There is a lot of work that's involved with being on the planning commission. To the extent that they might get paid what they think they're worth, I can tell them from ours that finance isn't the only thing that we consider. It's the service to the community, but I do believe they should have something in payment for their time.
Mayor Hall?
I agree that maybe it's time that we go down to 7 members. I would like 9, but I think it's time to move on. I would like to see persons from the city be appointed to that. They have basically a vested interest. And as far as the pay, it's like I would be getting pay, so it's no big deal to me. I think the other members could. I would forfeit my pay, so let them pay them at least a stipend. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. My position on this is I think 7 is fine. I said that at the last meeting. I think that we should provide some compensation. You're expecting people to drive and look at places as buildings are being built. You're expecting people to spend time, not just in the meeting, but looking at site plans. We're expecting them to get training. I think we should at least make it so they break even. And they have some costs involved in trying to provide all of that service to the community. Finally, my concern on the person outside of the city. The people who generally want to be on the planning commission who do not live here own a business here. And while that's wonderful, they have a certain vested interest in what they would like that business to be like. And what other businesses they would like near them, and as an example, we have all of these marijuana businesses that want to come in, which I think is wonderful, but would you like one of them to be sitting on the planning commission right now that doesn't live here, advising how we put our marijuana stores in when they don't live here? I mean, that's not and I'm not saying that they have nefarious purposes, but if you live in Hudsonville and you're going to make a decision about where businesses go for all of us who have to wake up and be here every single day, it just doesn't seem, the government teacher feels like it is not representative. I guess that's what the government teacher would say. So I think we're kind of split on that, but I think Mr. Womack, as we head forward, it sounds like everyone feels pretty comfortable with the idea of 7 and with the idea of coming up with some kind of compensation. I know we're currently at 4 and we have a 5th person in place, coming in place to be appointed who lives in the city. And so we would be getting close to, I mean, they certainly could start to conduct business with 5. They can do it with 4. 4 would be a quorum. So I guess, Mr. Womack, does that give you enough advisement to be able to move forward on setting a meeting to come up with the language for this?
So I'd be more comfortable if we took a straw poll on these persons living outside the community, because
Okay.
I'd like to have a final draft put in front of the council at their next meeting. And
All right,
while
so this is a straw poll on the specific issue of whether or not there should be a person allowed on the planning commission that does not live in the city limits. So Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
After hearing further discussion, no.
Ms. Race,
No.
Mr. Hall,
No.
no, that's a no. Mr. Gross,
No.
okay, Mr. Gross,
No.
and I'm a no.
That's easy.
Okay, so I'll bring back the ordinance without that language. But would council like to set a special meeting, or would they like this to go on to their December regular meeting?
What's your feeling? Give me a straw poll on, do you want a special meeting? Or do you want December? Renee?
I think we should do a special meeting. We need to get this moving. If we
Okay.
have people. to move
Lisa?
it.
Yes.
Special meeting?
Special. Yeah.
Molly?
Yes, special meeting.
Mayor Hall?
Yes, special meeting.
Special meeting? Mr. Gross?
If we have anybody on special meeting.
Okay, special meeting.
Ms. Conley, if I may,
Yes.
the public hearing deadline for the December meeting has passed for the Planning Commission. So special land uses and so forth would not be able to be brought to the Planning Commission in December because the deadline has already passed for
Okay,
publication.
so there's no, what you're saying is there's no benefit to holding a special meeting to get this moving?
Ms. Johnson, would it be acceptable to move the planning commission meeting as well to meet the publication deadline?
We could do that.
So, I mean, right now, we don't have a planning commission, so the regular meeting doesn't mean much to me at this point. So what we could do is wait until we have whatever special land use in hand, and then set the special meeting for the planning commission for whatever a 15-day period would be. That's a way we could do it.
Yep, that is an option.
Sorry, my dog was being my dog. Okay. So, special meeting, do you want us to get out books? Do you want us, our planners? Does the Thursday work well for people?
Every day of the Thanksgiving.
Ms.
So I
Johnson,
guess,
do you have some options for us? Like, do we have to have a certain amount of time? Is like 2 weeks from today on a Thursday acceptable? Next
2 weeks from today on a
Thursday,
Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Next Thursday,
I can do next Thursday.
Same.
okay, Mr. Hall? Next Thursday?
No, the 3rd, you're talking the 3rd of December, that's only 1 week away from our normal meeting.
No, next Thursday.
the 19th, Mr. Hall.
A week from today.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. Who did it? Mr. Gross.
That's fine.
And did I get everybody? Molly, Renee, Jerry. I think I got everybody. We need to make sure that Ms. Powell is on, Ms. Atchison. Ms. Atchison, does that work for you next Thursday?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay. So we can do this as a special meeting at 7, 6, 7.
I can't be there till 7.
Okay,
I've booked.
7. That's fine. I'm fine with 7.
7 o'clock, fine.
Same bat time, same bat station. Okay, so we have that. Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I have it. Thank you.
Okay, and that works as far as like time frame for ordinance posting meeting stuff?
We'll make it work.
For a special meeting, yes.
Okay. Then moving on to Mingle with Chris Kringle, community event. Mr. Womack, can you speak to this? What do you need from us?
So just very briefly, this event's been held before in the past with no issues. It's a beloved event. It usually goes off without a hitch. The small crinkle this time is that they requested
a pandemic.
Well, okay, that too. They've requested a much larger parade this year. So in years past, we've allowed them to go down one lane of the road. We've just kind of closed it off for the few minutes that they're on the road. This year, I believe they've got a marching band and all sorts of stuff going on. So they've requested the ability to close both sides of Main Street for a little while. And I'll let Sergeant Probst discuss it at more length. And we also have Mr. John Heisinger from the chamber who could discuss it as well, whoever you'd like to hear from first.
Mr. Probst, can you talk to us about the safety issues, if there are any, or if they've been addressed? Sergeant Probst?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet on how many participants will be in the parade. We talked about the same staging area as last year, coming out the south end of the staging area down to the first street north of Ash. I'm not sure where that is. But coming out to, I'm sorry?
I believe it was Elm.
Elm. Yeah. Then coming out to Main Street, going northbound on Main Street, taking up both lanes when we go northbound, and then turning back left on Maple Street, heading back to the heart of Cedar Springs. I think we can do this safely with...
Sorry, let me jump in for a second. Elm Street would be the parking or the street immediately south of the staging area, but that's only one block on Main Street. Mr. Heisinger wanted 1 block or 2 blocks on Main Street.
We wanted 2 blocks. I thought we had talked with Sergeant Probst about Cherry Street to Main Street.
So the difficulty there is going to be on 2nd Street. We have the fire station project, obviously. So you would have to go down the dirt path that kind of fronts along the White Pine Trail there.
Yeah, we thought that could work fine. Then the parade proper starts where the dirt path meets Cherry. And, that dirt path is just kind of staging folks and getting them ready. And then the parade is starts there. Dirt path and Cherry comes out to Main, goes up to, the street that the amphitheater
Maple
park
Street
is on, Maple.
Sorry, Sergeant Probst. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, I think we can do this safely with minimal officers, along with the assistance of the fire department, closing down southbound Main Street. We would have 2 police cruisers leading the parade northbound up Main Street, blocking both north and southbound lanes as we go north, and then head back to the heart of Cedar Springs.
Okay. Mr. Heisinger, do you have anything else?
Only that in this year, it seems like there's some hunger for this, and there are people that would like to be in this parade. We will have more conversation about when the parade ends and there's a tree lighting, just how to keep everybody safe. It's outdoors, but there might be a decent crowd that gathers, and so we'll be as mindful as we can be about where the pinch points would be in this event. Everything's outside, so in the past there's been some indoor components to this event, and it seemed like a parade spreads people out and stays outdoors, and it felt like a thing we could do.
Safely. My only concern is the marching band. You can't wear a mask and play a trumpet.
Yeah.
And the kind of projecting piece of it. I know they're doing it. I'm not saying they can't. It concerns me. So that's just my 2 cents.
There were some interested. I don't know whether they're confirmed and coming for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little fall off from the list just because of the COVID activity in recent weeks.
I have a tuba player in-house that only plays in-house, which I don't know what that says about my life, but Renee.
Yeah, I just want to ask a quick question. This is a for sure go. I happen to have 18 Girl Scouts that we want to build and be part of this. And we are very concerned with the COVID numbers. And we really want to do this. The girls are ready to do it, but we just want to make sure that we don't spend the time we need to on a float that's not going to float.
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that,
okay,
there's no plan to like shut it down because of COVID, or I know that's something you can't quite, but just curious.
We're solid to go. We have no plans. We're discussing no plans to not do it.
Okay, great. Thank
Just
you.
might be specific restrictions on like wearing masks, being 6 feet apart, even though we're outside, if the numbers are quite high.
I think if we have crowds of people who will gather by the Christmas tree for a little ceremony of lighting the tree, we must have people wearing masks because they will be how to gather people around the tree without them getting into some close proximity would just be impossible. So outdoors with masks. It seems like the statistics are pretty good for that kind of a setup.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Mr. Huizenga? Or for Mr. Probst? Okay, then do you have what you need from us, Mr. Womack? Because this was a discussion item, not an action item.
Yep. So the only thing I'd point out, and Mr. Huizenga, I don't remember the date of your event.
Saturday, December 5.
Yeah. So the council's next meeting is December the 10th. So again, we normally request that these community events come with at least 2 months so the council can discuss them twice. But obviously this is going to be an issue if council either doesn't approve it today or maybe next week on Thursday. We could approve it at that time. If
I was just going to say, could it be added to our special meeting?
It certainly could. I mean, I don't think there's much else to discuss. Sergeant Probst has a good plan. Mr. Huizenga has a plan. I think at this point, the only thing we're really waiting on is to figure out how many people are going to be in the parade, which I don't know if council really needs to be a part of that discussion.
Yeah, I make a motion.
Do you want it as an action item? Because it's currently a discussion item.
I'll leave it to council's discretion.
You would like to make a motion, Mr. Gross?
I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
We move this to an action item.
Okay.
And we as a council approve the Mingle with Kris Kringle community event request, with the follow-up being on the city manager and his approval, because we have allowed him to approve these events in the past.
Okay.
So.
Support. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Moving on to discussion item Cedar Blitz Gravel Bike Race. Item number C. There's a route and race start map and race end map in the city. It would be taking place in May
May 20
22nd.
So if I may,
Yes, Mr. Manager.
The bike race organizers have chosen May 22nd. They have to do that very early in the process so they can get their, I believe, racing credentials from the organizing body. At this point, I just wanted to put it in front of council so that you have the date and kind of some of the early information. This is something that council did previously support financially, but didn't happen this past year due to COVID. I believe the DDA and some of the businesses in town are also going to support this race financially. We did discuss this at length last year about how there's a race down in, somewhere southeast of Grand Rapids, I forget where, but it only took them 8 or 9 years to have a bike race that is the largest bike race of its kind, I think, in North America. So these bike races can bring in lots of people, lots of crowds. It can be very good for the local economy. And you'll see here that the race would start around the staging area. It would go up the White Pine Trail and essentially leave the city at that point. And then the only place where it really comes back into the city is the race to the finish along First Street. So we'd have to close down a little bit of Maple Street and First Street from the side roads. So this will require some financial contribution. I don't remember the exact amount that the council offered last year. I think it was $1,500. I'd have to look at it. But for right now, just any discussion council might have about it.
And the financial contribution was primarily for policing, correct?
Correct. We would not be giving them money. This would be
Service
helping pay
based.
for, Kent County Sheriff's Department for the most part.
Okay. Mr. Probst, do you have anything to add on this as we're looking at it?
No, I don't have any issues with it. I thought it was really well planned last year before it was canceled. I'm assuming it'll be well planned again this year. It will take a lot of people to pull this off, though.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on it? Then I am assuming we will be hearing about it again next month when it will be an action item.
As soon as I can get it to that point, and I'll bring back additional
That's
information.
fine if it's not next month, but I mean, this is the first reading.
Correct. This is the first time you're seeing it this year, and you'll get another chance to approve it at a later date.
Sounds wonderful. Excellent. And in theory, by May, we will have an answer for this vaccine. That would be amazing. All right, then item D, discussion on an ordinance amendment to reduce side and rear setbacks in the B3, HC, and I1 zoning districts.
So I'll apologize at the start. Normally this goes straight to the planning commission. They discuss it at length and then it comes to you guys. As you know, we don't have a planning commission right now. So I'm just bringing it to you to kind of give you a heads up of one of the things that I'm discussing. I've been trying to tie in the individual planning commission members, but not in a formal sense, obviously. So this is something that might be needed, especially in the HC district. There are a couple of lots out there that are kind of awkwardly shaped. And by imposing both the front and rear setbacks, which are 40 foot, you make those properties very, very difficult to develop on. So I've had one piece in particular, but of course this would apply to all properties, that just virtually cannot be properly developed with the setbacks the way they are. So this ordinance would give the planning commission authority to reduce that setback if the setback would interfere with the development of the building. I don't have the language open in front of me, but I made sure to write it in such a way as that the planning commission had all the power. Developers can ask the planning commission to do this, but they can't do it just because they want a larger building. This is something that would be similar to and akin to a variance request. But as the planning commission members and the ZBA members know, variances are extremely difficult to get, as they should be. This is a slightly less rigorous route to do it, and I think would be used a couple of times, but is an option. And at some point, the planning commission will have to discuss it and make a recommendation on it.
Any questions for Mr. Womack? Any discussion? Any comment? I know we have a lot of former planning commission members on here, so I'm sure you have your planning commission goggles. I think I'm one of the few actually who hasn't sat on planning commission.
Yeah, I think we should wait, hopefully, to see the planning commission come back to 7 and let them address this issue.
Any other thoughts?
I second that.
Okay. It's a good reminder to us, I think, about how much work the planning commission does. Do you want anything additional from us, Mr. Womack?
No, thank you. Not at this time.
All right, then moving on to discussion on paid time off buyback change to personnel policies.
So again, similar to what some of the planning commission, city council members indicated about planning commission members, I would financially benefit from this. So I want that to be known at the beginning. I do try to be eminently fair in everything I do, especially when it comes to pay, because of course I don't do this for the money, I do it for the city. So the city's personnel policies have been very generous with the paid time off. As council will remember, we combined vacation and sick time a couple of years ago, with the idea that if you did not use your paid time off, that it would revert and you would lose that paid time off. Unfortunately, as much as that's a sound policy, we do try to run a very lean ship here at City Hall. We do not have extra members on staff to pick up the slack. And there are some people who just are unable to use all their vacation time, even if they wanted to. I was on vacation last week. I came back to 150 plus emails. It took me 3 days to get to. And I've got dozens of site plans and stuff I'm trying to get to as well. So council did, I believe, last year approve buying back 50% of the unused paid time off. This is I believe, milder change than that. I believe the numbers I put in there would be up to 40 hours. So that if a member of staff did not use 40 or more hours of their paid time off in any 1 year, the city would buy back 40 of those hours, and then the staff member would lose anything above that number. So I think the set number of 40 gives Ms. Falcon a hard number that she can reference to when setting the budget each year. So this is not a surprise. It also gives us a little wiggle room for merit-based pay increases. So I don't think it would cause any budget issues. This is more just, I guess, a policy question for the city council.
Thoughts?
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Atchison.
Was the buyback at full pay, or was it at, I saw 50% off or 50% deduction or something in there?
Let me bring it up real quick and let me take a look at it. So I'm looking at it now. The operative words are these. Failure to use earned paid time off will result in forfeiture of that paid time off, except that the city shall pay out to a maximum of 40 hours of that forfeited accrued paid time off. Payout shall be at the rate of pay the employee is earning at the time of their work anniversary when the paid time off was forfeited, but shall not include any overtime, bonus, or other types of pay. And then there's a second section, similar. I've got yellow in addition, red in deletion. I changed out the word weeks to paid time off hours, because of course we do it by hour, not by weeks. And then I changed from he or she is eligible to take to he or she is eligible to earn within the year of the last complete year of employment. Which I think is fair, but I don't see anything in here about 50.
That was
Oh.
maybe before or something.
I take that back. Let me read this real quick. Yeah, so this was addressing when I indicated that a year and a half ago, the council did previously address this by paying out 50% of the lost paid time off. But I think if council will remember, I had some 250 hours, I think, that I lost, which equaled out to 125 hours of paid time.
Right.
Now, under this policy change, it would be maxed out at 40 hours.
It seems to me that this is an appropriate change. We don't want to have anyone feel like we're not honoring what they have earned. But at the same time, it encourages people to take their vacation, which is what we had really wanted when we set in place the use it or lose it policy. Having time off from work refreshes you, it makes you do a better job. So we wanted to encourage that. But the reality is we have had some difficulty staffing, particularly our DPW department in recent years. And it's made it very difficult for our DPW people to take all of their time off. And I think that's what this is trying to address.
I agree.
Ms.
I
Reyes,
agree.
Ms. Atchison, Mr. Gross, Ms. Race.
I guess my comment would be, I'm not opposed to a person receiving. What I would be opposed to, and it was just addressed, somebody just not taking their time if it was available. I worked in management in a particular situation like this where we had a problem with that for a while. People didn't schedule their vacation because they figured they could get additional weeks pay. At that place, it was 2 weeks pay if they didn't take their vacation. I would hope that's not the case here. I just don't know if there's any way of documenting why they didn't take their time off. So I guess I'm not opposed to the 40 hours, but I too would see them take the time off. They need it.
If I could address that for a second. Yeah, maybe I do like to work a little too much sometimes. I feel a great sense of accomplishment when I'm in the office getting things done. I did very much so enjoy my vacation recently, and I did come back feeling a little bit more energized. So I really should take more vacation time off. But you can see I've got several marijuana businesses who are interested in this meeting. We got to get the planning commission sorted out. I missed the fire station building meeting. This is a very rigorous job, and so is Mr. LaRosa's job, and Ms. Johnson and Ms. Falcon. They're all very difficult jobs. And frankly, the 40 hours of pay far beats hiring an additional 2 or 3 employees to make up the time that we otherwise would not be here. So I understand what you're saying, Mr. Gross, but one of the reasons that I brought this forward is I saw that there was a community in Michigan that ended up paying out to their city manager $75,000 in paid time off that had been accumulated over I think a 15-year period. And if that doesn't make you gasp, then I don't know what will. I think that's a horrendous thing to do to a city. Put them on the hook for $75,000 at any point. And so I think for the small, 40-hour payout, you can limit the possible liability in the future of monies owed to retiring or staff members who are leaving the community.
Okay, I think, so, Mr. Manager, you've taken it personal. It wasn't intended to be personal. I was talking in general of all employees. I understand your schedule as well as a lot of the other staff in the office. I was just looking at, there's the possibility that this could happen, and I would hate to see that. I definitely would encourage everybody to take the time off they have coming.
I apologize. I didn't mean to take it personal. It was my personal experience. That's the only thing I can speak to.
Sure.
So I believe we have some feedback on moving forward on that policy. Is there
It
anyone else
sounded-
who'd like to speak to it? Mayor Hall, Ms. Nixon? I think Ms. Nixon
me,
said she felt it was fair.
Yes, I feel this is an appropriate change.
Yeah. Mr. Hall?
I think it's fair. I think they should use it, and if not, they lose it. But it's there for them to utilize. So whatever the council agrees to, I'll go by with.
Well, I kind of got the sense that there was a majority to approve. So I guess without objection, I'll put it on your consent calendar, consent agenda next time. And if you'd like to discuss it further, you could remove it at that time.
Sounds excellent. Thank you. So moving on then to discussion, line F, discussion regarding ordinance and ordinance amendment to the recreational marijuana zoning ordinance, second reading.
So I would like to thank Ms. Bernadette Powell as a keen observer of the Planning Commission. She had it entirely correct that the City Council cannot pass this ordinance without getting a recommendation from the Planning Commission. So it is here simply as a placeholder at this time. Council cannot proceed forward on the zoning ordinance. Council could move forward on the regulatory ordinance if they wanted to, which of course you would kind of force the zoning ordinance to follow along. But it's just a placeholder at this time. I'm open for any discussion council might wish to have.
To clarify, I don't think anyone is looking to move this to an action item at this time, but I think we would like to have some discussion. Anyone have any thoughts? This is on the 100 feet, right?
So technically they're both regarding the 100-foot, both the regulatory and the zoning. But I think this one's a little bit more obvious about 100 feet. The other one's more about the race to the door. As I've indicated before, if the ordinance is changed, you might be put into a situation, obviously, where you'll have two competing businesses that are within 100 feet of each other. And whoever submits their application first would be given priority at that point. So that's what the regulatory ordinance mostly deals with. But yes, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, this would be the one that was operative in setting the actual number. Or any other option we might wish to pursue, such as limiting the number of licenses, etc.
Okay, would anyone like to have any discussion on this at this time?
I would like to comment that in initially considering the 100-foot, I had envisioned 100 linear foot on the same side of the street. It had not occurred to me until I saw the visual of the map that 100-foot also includes several buildings behind and in front of and across the street. So perhaps we need to revisit that and at least be more specific because I think that our intent did not match up with what the result would have been.
Yeah, I have a feeling on that as well. I don't know that I'm opposed to there being two directly across the street from each other. I could be persuaded to change some of the language on that. Miss Atchison.
Did our regular ordinance it had something about them not being next door to each other? That did not have it. It couldn't be next to a house or a residence, right? Okay.
Has to have some distance from a residence.
Yeah. What were you saying, Mike?
Sorry, I was going to say that there is a separation from residential uses, but not from other marijuana businesses.
Okay. I would even be like maybe looking into like what the 50 mile or the 50 radius would be instead of the 100.
Now, of course, we could also make it similar to the residential and just say you can't share a property line with another marijuana business.
Yeah, that's true. That
would essentially bring it down to 0 or 1 foot, I guess. But I would mention that there are other possibilities. Instead of changing the ordinance, we could address this through policy about accepting applications. So one of the things I floated in a memo that I sent to you guys was maybe only accept 1 marijuana application per zoning district at a time for the planning commission. Having the 3 on the agenda previously was very time consuming, very complex. And so if for no other reason, then it would give the planning commission more time to more thoroughly examine these. And I think that would also have the side effect of slowing down the marijuana business. Because if you are the 5th or 6th marijuana business in line, you might be 10 or 12 months out from getting approval. So you might want to limit it by zoning district because those would be the ones that you'd be nearby. Whereas if you had 1 in the HT district and 1 in the B2 district, you could do those at the same time because they're not in the same zoning district. That's a possibility.
If we go down that road, I would be interested in only allowing a person or a business or a company 1 application per person at a time. Like I wouldn't want someone to be able to come in and say, I'm 1 person and I'm putting in 5 applications. Like I would like the business and the person to be distinct. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the only problems that would be with that would be the fact that most of these are not persons. These are almost always
companies.
LLCs. And it doesn't take much for it to be company A LLC and company B LLC all owned by the same people.
Got it. Because I know that there are some who've talked about coming in and buying a piece of property and putting like 2 or 3 stores all next to each other. And I that makes me very uncomfortable.
Yep. So there's also the minor issue of the fact that we do require co-location in the HC district, which is 2 different businesses. Now,
Right.
we probably want to exempt those. But yeah, I'd have 0 problems with saying only 1 parcel regardless of who owns it. So that would then force somebody who might want to do 2 parcels next door to each other to apply at different periods of time and get separate approvals at different times if they were to continue to pursue that option.
Yeah. That's one of my concerns. That again, it's the the devil's in the details. I mean,
That's why we need a planning commission.
Exactly. And we were, as a council, we were not opposed. If I recall, the vote was 6-1 on approving having businesses come into the community. We just don't want to be only marijuana businesses. That's our concern. Because we all still need to buy groceries, and we still want to go out to dinner at restaurants, and we still want to be able to, get our cars fixed and all of the other things that happen in a community that we all live here.
I think there are some other possible policies that might kind of influence without changing the ordinance. Let me think on it a little bit, and let me bring this back to not only the special meeting with the planning commission next week, but maybe also, because I don't know if we'll resolve it then at the December 10th meeting.
Well, the purpose of that meeting is to get a planning commission, right?
Correct. Of course, we can discuss other items if we'd like
Sure,
to.
but our goal at that meeting is to walk out of there with a functional planning commission.
Yep, and I agree because like Mr. Hall indicated, I believe that the planning commission is going to have outsized influence on what the city council considers doing, because that's kind of their specialty.
Okay, other thoughts, input, ideas, policy, questions, concerns? If not, I'm moving on to communications. Item 9, Section A, MERS PA 202 report for 2020. This is the retirement funding.
Ms. Falcon, do you want to discuss this at all?
It's just a required report. It's due to the state by December 1st. I've already submitted it. And part of the requirement is that the city council receives a copy, so.
And we're in a better place than most communities.
We are, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Ms. Falcon, I'm looking at the first page. I see funded ratio 79.9. Is that the relevant number that I'm thinking about?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of communities that are funded in the 10s and 15s and 20s. I'd say that 80% is better than 80% of the cities out there.
Then any other questions on that? Communication from Bray Planning Commission resignation. I'm going to just put these together, B and C. Bray Planning Commission resignation and Watson Planning Commission resignation.
I'd only mention that Mr. Bray did serve on the planning commission for a very long period of time. Mr. Hall, you might have a better idea of the exact number, but it's something like 19, 20 years. He'll be very sorely missed. Mr. Watson was on the planning commission for, I believe, 1 or 2 years. He did not quit due to marijuana. Yeah.
I know, unlike so many that we had.
He picked up a nighttime job and was not going to be able to attend any future meetings.
We thank them for their service. Have we gotten thank you certificates, letters out to them?
We weren't going to do that until after council accepted the resignations.
Okay, so we would like to do that and thank them for their service. It is a very heavy lift. I know that there are several people that have left because they felt very strongly about marijuana policies and issues. And we appreciate that and respect that and would like to thank them for the service that they've provided to the city up to this point. Then moving on to the main zoning request, 233 South Main rezoning request. We have a communication on that.
So this is something that would normally go in front of the planning commission, but we don't have one. So it's something I actually recommended to them when we were doing the rezoning map last year, but I guess it took a little while to resonate with them. So the second we have a planning commission, I'll put that in front of them and then it'll come right back to you guys for approval.
Okay. And then the Lisa Weidenfeller Library Board resignation.
Yep, Lisa's been great for that board. She's done a lot of hard work. I'm sure Ms. Clark can speak more at length if necessary, but she'll be missed, and we are looking for a new member of the library board.
You can have a city council person on that, yes?
Ms. Clark, can you speak on that?
Because I feel like there was a city council person when I was on the library board, when I was not on the city council.
Ms. Clark, the question is whether a city council member can serve on your library board.
They have in the past. It's
Okay,
been,
and there's been no changes to your bylaws that would prohibit that?
no,
Okay. Do you have anyone at the moment that you would be bringing towards council to?
yes, there's a lady, Mary.
Okay.
Yeah, we have somebody.
Okay,
And Ms. Clark, she knows to submit the application for appointment to boards. It's on the city's website. to
I
City
gave
Hall.
it to her, I gave it to her yesterday and I instructed her how to do it.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark.
You're
okay,
welcome.
because as you know, the library board continues to be near and dear to my heart, so.
I know, yeah, you served a good term back then.
So let me know if you
Okay,
got people, that's good.
yes, yeah, we're okay.
Okay. Then, and thank you, Miss Weidenfeller, for your service. How long did she serve?
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Okay, so
She's-
thank
she's
you.
a
And
very-
again, not a paid, it's voluntary, last I knew. So just community service, people showing up and getting things done. So then moving on to fire station progress report.
So I get these on a weekly basis. I try not to overload council with them. But you guys live in the community. Some of you have this literally in their backyard. We've been watching it go up. The underground stuff was very complicated and took a long time. But now you can see there's almost quite literally a building there. So it's kind of been fun to watch, and they're still on track, as last I heard, to open around April 1st of next year.
Yes, it's been quite fun to watch. My dog has been enjoying all the activity as we walk around there also. So,
I'm wondering when they're gonna haul more dirt in, because they wore out the dirt they have there.
they got the floor poured, I saw. So that was exciting. Yep, definitely coming along. So department reports. If no one has any questions on the fire station, do you have anything, Chief Frazier, that you would like to add? On the fire station?
I'm trying to unmute myself here. I think I did.
There you go.
It's been interesting, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Be willing to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Anybody have any questions on the fire station?
Mr. Frazier, were you able to pick out a refrigerator?
Yes, I believe they settled that and had that ordered before you got back from vacation. I wasn't aware that, I guess I just looked it up to the architectural and Orion Construction to pick out appliances. And
It's kind of a joke. I had 150 emails, so I saw they were trying to pick out a refrigerator. And then I got, 70 emails in and saw that they did pick out a refrigerator. So,
well, I think if I understood them right, everything but the washer and dryer was picked as a package.
yep. So they're moving right along.
Hopefully you get them before it opens up. Put it
Well,
that way.
that was part of the problem of changing the order now because they are in high demand and they are hard to get. As your husband said.
Because everybody needs refrigerators for all their extra COVID food. Right? Well, I'm glad that 75 emails and we have the fire station refrigerator solved. All right, moving on to department reports. Mr. Manager.
I always feel just a little silly having another place in the report because I, of course, see the entire agenda as my report. Yeah, the things have been running pretty smoothly. We've had some difficulties recently. It's obviously never our intent, and certainly hasn't been our intent the last 4 years to get in the way of business. We're very pro-business here in the community. I think we've finally shed our image of being anti-business that used to exist in this community. And we just unfortunately are in a little hiccup right now, and we'll have that sorted out very soon. I would remind the council that we're going to have a short meeting, not council meeting, just a tour of the wastewater treatment plant tomorrow at noon at the wastewater treatment plant. So please show up if you're able. And then Ms. Johnson, we picked out what, next Thursday at 7 p.m. for a special meeting. So please also put that in your calendars. And other than that, I'm available for any questions you might have.
Any questions for the city manager on his report? Moving on to DPW and the infrastructure alternatives operational and maintenance report.
I don't have anything. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I don't have anything. Anyone got anything for Mr. LaRose? Ms. Race? You're muted?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Mr. LaRose for crawling up on top of his truck to hang the sign at the corner of Prairie Run and Pioneer Trail. For some reason, it was found after Halloween, and he was there the next morning taking care of it. So
because of course, that's how our DPW roll.
Exactly. Very entertaining. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. LaRose?
I
Moving
would like to
on.
make a comment on and thanking them for their quick, complete responses to picking up leaves.
Yes.
You put them out there and they're picked up. It's been great.
And especially after all the brush after the storm.
Mhm.
Yeah, they've been right on it. Yes. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to the police department. Anything for Sergeant Probst? Any questions? Anything to add, Mr. Probst?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, we continue to thank you for keeping our community safe and doing such a wonderful job. You all did an excellent job at Halloween. I was the one escorting the giant globe, walking around, waving at everyone because we weren't doing like real trick-or-treating, but we dressed up and the waddling globe was with me, and the dog dressed up as the map of Staffordshire, England and America. So thank you to the police for making sure everyone continued to stay safe, and it was wonderful
Great, thank you.
on Halloween. And then the fire department, anything else, Mr. Frazier?
I have nothing unless the council has questions. Otherwise, I'll be quiet.
Okay, anything for Mr. Frazier? Any questions on the fire department? Then the city clerk, who is our total rock star after the election. Anything?
I would
for
just like to note a couple things.
Please.
Our AV ballots that we issued 718 of them. We had only 3% that were unreturned, so that is phenomenal. 17 people who requested AVs then voted in person. They spoiled their ballot AV and then voted in person. And then we do have a permanent AV list of 514 that has grown exponentially since the beginning of the year.
That is amazing. That the change in the state law has just been phenomenal in helping people vote. So wonderful. And anything on our like overall percentage of people voting in relationship to how many people used to vote, or?
Yeah, I do have some information in my report. 2012 turnout was 53%, 2016 turnout was 55%, and 2020 turnout was at 61%.
That's wonderful. The more people that vote, the better. That always makes me happy. The government teacher.
Yeah, we
Wonderful. And you were just a rock star. Thank you for making that all happen in the middle of a pandemic. So that was excellent. Anything else for the city clerk? Moving on then to the finance director, treasurer report, the cash summary, revenue expenditure, balance sheets. Any questions there? Anything, Darla, you would like to add?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, you are good. You are awesome. And we are grateful that you always make all those numbers come together. Code enforcement. My understanding is our code enforcement officer might be ill. Is she doing okay?
Yep, she's been working from home. She's been doing a good job. She's just not feeling well.
Well, you get to be sick. I mean,
Yep,
even in
yeah.
a not pandemic, you get to be sick. That's not we don't do moral judgments on people getting sick.
No, but one thing I would point out is despite being sick, she did attend court via Zoom the other day.
Oh my.
Yep, and she did a great job with that. So we really appreciate her efforts. She's really helping bring this community together.
So tell her we send her our best and we hope she recovers well. Anybody have anything for the code enforcement person? Building inspection? I don't think we have anything really on that. And then the boards and commission minutes that you have in your packet from the library board and from the North Kent, what is it called now? The North Kent Center.
Community enrichment.
Community enrichment. There we go. That used to be the activities.
Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Rec. Thank you. So anything special with that? How's it going with their reconfiguration? And seems to be, I believe Darla sits on that board.
Yep, Darla sits on that board for us. Again, she does a great job representing the city and the city's interests. I've been very happy with the direction of the NKCE.
Any thoughts, Darla, of anything we should know about or anything you'd like to point out to people who might tune into this Zoom later?
It has been very difficult with the limited activities that we can host right now, but I'm just trying to, like, Taekwondo is still going on right now. Some Zumba classes where there's smaller numbers so they can social distance and do those activities safely. Trying to plan some events for this coming winter, hopefully events outside, you know, we will be able to hold in February. So we'll see.
Okay. Thank you for continuing to try to provide activities to that board. Tell them thank you, especially in these challenging COVID times. You're continuing to adapt and overcome. Then finally, we have council comments. Mr. Gross. Mr. Gross, you're muted.
Yes, I did. Okay. I'd like to thank everybody here at the city offices. They're dealing with people a lot of times during this time of year and because of the situations, I'm sure it can be a little stressing. I'm sure that there was a lot of stress around election time and everything that was going on. And I'm sure there was other things that had to be watched that were a little out of the norm, but I and I think they all handle it very, very well, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you to all of you.
That Nelson.
Okay. Ms. Race.
I'm here. I'm just laughing because I can hear. I feel like this, even though, you know, we go month to month, I feel like I've been sitting in this chair for like 3 years and it's only been 6 months. I don't even, but everyone does such a great job. I love being part of the city council. I really hope that we can fill the seats for the planning commission. You know, I really enjoyed it. I know it's a lot of work. Hopefully the little bit of compensation, we can get some good people in here. I know there's a lot of good people in the city now, and I know there's a lot of new people around. So let's really hope that we can get some people in, so we can get the city sparkling and new and ready for the future. But thank you, everyone. It was a good meeting.
Ms. Nixon.
Well, first of all, thank you to city staff for running an election. Democracy is extremely important to our way of life, and doing it well there's no substitute for that. So I'm so grateful to you for that. Also, just kind of on a personal note, because it's large in my world, I work at a 10-floor hospital. When I left work yesterday, there were only 2 floors that did not have COVID on them. It's exploding. So I am deeply grateful to everyone who wears a mask, everyone who social distances. Even if you don't personally see the gains from it, your actions to be careful absolutely saved someone's life today. So thank you to everyone who continues to follow those guidelines. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Nixon, and thank you for continuing to take care of sick people in all of this craziness, and continuing to show up for city council. Mayor Hall.
Well, thanks everyone for putting up with all the technical difficulties off and on this evening. It was nice sitting back and just watching everyone do their bit to help the city grow and improve. And, you know, their brighter days are coming, so we'll get people on the planning commission and we will move forward on this. And thanks one and all for everything that you do to help the city grow and be as prosperous as we are. Thank you all.
And thank you, Mr. Hall, for agreeing to be the mayor for another year. I am so thrilled that we continue to have you at the helm. Miss Atchison, I was trying to make sure you were set. You looked like you were maybe having some struggle with your connection. Are you good?
I think I'm okay, and I hope you weren't hearing my daughter scream at her dog, because I realized I knew it wasn't on. I go, oh my gosh. Anyway, talking about dogs. I think that I really enjoy serving with this body with all of you. And I think that we're really trying to figure things out. I mean, who knew marijuana would be legal and we'd be having businesses, you know? So it's going to be, you guys are going to, you know, the public, please be patient with everyone. And we didn't really have any control over losing the planning commission members. We do want people on the planning commission that have different views. We don't want all yes men. So if you feel like you have a voice that you want heard in the city, put in an application to be on the planning commission and get involved in your city. If you really want to be involved, if you really want to let the city know, you know, how people are feeling in the city, then come on out and join up. That's really all I have to say. Thanks. Oh, and thanks for all the voting. It was actually it ran very smoothly because I went in to vote and it ran very smoothly. We were out the door but we had a clipboard to fill out and it just kind of all ran smooth. Thank you.
Wonderful. And with that, again, everybody knows the voting is near and dear to my heart, and I am so thrilled at how many people showed up to vote. I am thrilled at how smoothly it went. I am thrilled with how safely it went. That, of course, is a big piece for me. And I am thrilled that we continue to just keep making this happen in all of this craziness, because yay, go democracy, says the social studies teacher. And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Pam.
Absolutely. And Jerry, you can throw it to me anytime you need. I'm happy to have you run the show, but I will always be the Robin to your Batman anytime you need it.
He went through like 4 microphones and 3 computers. It was just a bad luck night for him with the computers.
I'm just saying it's fine. At any point we can make it fly.
Thanks, Pam.
I have 3 computers with me right now. So in my office, and I have more on the flip side. So we got this. And with that, if you don't need me for anything, I will, Rebecca, any specific time you want me to come in and take my oath?
I'll give you a call on Monday, PM.
Okay. Or shoot me an email in my 300 emails when you're virtually teaching world studies classes for high school students. And oh my gosh, you gave me a 0 on that assignment that I didn't turn in, but I just turned it in. Will you grade it? And I'm going to send you 6 emails about it.
All righty. Well, everybody have a good night. I'll talk to you later, Pam.
Sounds
Bye-bye.
good. You all have a lovely evening.